you bring AI into a furniture business without losing the human touch? Jamie Lim, CEO of Scanteak, Singapore, has been figuring that out the hard way and the smart way. From failed forecast experiments to an agentic chat system that now handles off-hours customer service, her team has built a fail-fast culture that actually works. Today, we are talking about what a real AI adoption looks like on the shop floor. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 123 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Jamie, so happy to have you here on OFFBounds and finally have a Singaporean in Singapore on the show.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
So you lead Scanteak, which is a furniture brand here in Singapore. Can you tell us a little bit about the brand?
Absolutely. So I'm a second generation. My father started the business 52 years ago. And we started with just Scandinavian design teak furniture, short for Scanteak. Today we have over 200 retail stores across Singapore and Taiwan and spanning more than 10 brands.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there were so many stores. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very fun.
Yeah. But how was you entering the business? Because your father started and you got some interest in furniture back then?
Unfortunately, I don't have interest in furniture. I had interest in people. So I came, my dream was actually to be in Hollywood. And I dabbled in that for 2 to 3 years, just marketing movies. But it's about people. It's about the hearts of people. And I realized that homes are about the hearts of people. So when an opportunity arose, even though it was not where I felt passionate about, I wanted to inspire people. And so I took up the challenge, and 20 years later, here I am.
Amazing. Wow, you're inspiring people on how they feel in their own homes. Like, this is very powerful, right? Because you're dealing with the very intimate part of people's lives.
Exactly, because home is where the heart is the construct of every country. And when people think about home, they have many ideas of what home is. Sometimes it's a family. Sometimes it could just be by yourself. Sometimes it's just you and your dog or your partner. So I found that...
all through that, throughout your life too, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that fascinating because growing up in Singapore, my parents were entrepreneurs. And I think home to me was wherever they were. You know, we would fly around. They don't have a lot of time for me, but when there was time, it was precious. And so my brother and I came up with the vision of inspiring family moments worldwide. And that's our brand vision.
Amazing. And we met because of NRF APAC. That's the reason I come every year. Thank goodness, because then I get so inspired by other stories. And we talk a lot about technology at the event. And I know that you're always inclined to try things out with the business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the digital part?
Okay, so the short version and the true version is that I use technology as a means to solve problems. So one of the first problem I tried to solve in Singapore 20 years ago was I realized that as an entrepreneur, I would probably not have a love life or a dating life or a social life if I do not start finding digital avenues. So I was supposed to be at work 24/7. I was supposed to be at the stores. And I decided I cannot do this. So I started looking into analytics, webcams, anything that could give me enough data to make good decisions while I might not necessarily be right in front of the computer. Maybe even over a beer with somebody, with some friends.
Have a social life like a normal person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my very honest reason.
The first pain point was because you wanted to have a social life.
I realized that if I have to keep my passion burning, I need to make it sustainable. And so I thought of making it digital. The second reason I went into being digital was I realized I became a mom. And 9 months later, I would probably need, some time to nurse the kid. And so I started looking at options where I could be, there could be automation without me, where I could still run the business from a dashboard in the middle of the night, and still let my managers get access to data. And this was, again, like now, then 15 years ago, analytics and business intelligence wasn't a thing. But it was just my way of saying that I need to democratize data to my managers. It cannot just be about me and my management or my parents because they weren't home. So that was my second foray into it. And over
it's
the years,
unsustainable, especially if you want to scale, right? Like you can't be everywhere all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not Michelle Yeoh. I can't be everywhere all the time.
But it's interesting that everything that you're saying is not like I was looking for a data platform or whatever. You were like just trying to solve a problem, and you came to the solution that has a fancy name, but you're just trying to solve a problem that was a pain point for yourself.
Exactly. And I think that led me into AI without knowing what AI was. I shared this story at NRF where I had my sales manager and my customer service manager storm angrily into my room one morning while I was checking my emails, and they were both very adamant to justify how correct they are. So the sales manager said that his team member could not close a sale, almost lost a $2,000 sale because there was nobody to verify a delivery slot. So the customer stormed in and say, I will buy this right now if this could be delivered in 2 days. Now, usually we have a legacy systems, right? Where I need to know the inventory in Singapore and inventory in Malaysia. I then need to know if there's space in the truck. I need to know what kind of house you're staying in, because in certain apartments, you are not allowed to deliver on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, and we do not deliver on public holidays. So I would have a person look through every channel, check, stop, check, space, check, living in a place that could deliver on the weekend, check, and then make their commitment. Unfortunately, the customer service person said, this is a Sunday at 8 p.m. My staff have the right to go grocery shopping with his wife without being disturbed. And so he doesn't...
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right, fair enough. He has no obligation to pick up the phone, whether it's for $100 or $2,000. And so the squabble went on, and I'm like, dude, let's just hire somebody who could do the job, right? Let's just add headcount if that's the problem. And the manager said, that's not the problem. I cannot find headcount of people who are willing to take retail hours, Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays. These are the times people shop. Nobody wants to work. So we tried. And that was when I said, okay, let me see if I could find a solution. Talked to some people, and someone said, Jamie, I don't know if this is a thing, but I could build you. Can you imagine a 14-year-old? That's what I was being told. A 14-year-old who will never fall sick. Because it's a simple job. Open the first application, is there stock? Open the second application, is there stock? Third application, is there space? Fourth application, is that public holiday? Right? And they just piece it together. I said, yes, it's not rocket science.
Exactly. You don't need any intellect.
Exactly. You just need a little bit of logic, right? And so he says, I'll build you something that will cost you a little bit between $250 to $300, who will never fall sick, and who could check all this information at the click of a finger. I'm like, are you sure there's such a thing? He said, yeah. And I could make it so that your customers or your salespeople can interact with it. So it could read your systems, and it could even confirm a delivery date for you and write into the system. So you do not need a human being. Your human being can spend quality time off work. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, how did you feel? Yeah.
I was like, yeah, heck yeah, build it. Even if it fails, we'll try it. I said, and they won't fall sick. He was like, no, they will not fall sick. You just need to make sure the computer is turned on all the time. I said, heck yeah, build this. And that was my first foray into AI in 2022 or 2023, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so it's not like, again, we didn't have the fancy words that you use that we use today to identify like
Agentic
agentic
AI.
workflow, whatever. Yeah, it was just you trying to solve a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you never like had any case of, I don't know, demand forecasting, or things that we've been using in the past like that had AI.
No, so we did as well, because another problem came where after COVID, my manager of, I think, a good 8-9 years said that they have revisited life and their priorities after COVID. And so she's going to take a good 6 months to 1 year off work. And I could either let her go or just give her a long sabbatical. And I said, you know what? You've been with me for so long. I'll give you a sabbatical. What do I need to do for you? She gave me a long Excel spreadsheet and says, just look at this 300-400 cells, get the average of this and that. At the end of every SKU, that's the amount you order. This is called a demand forecast. I'm like, I can't do that. She says, it's easy once you get a hang of it. I said, we have 500 SKUs. I'm not doing that. So I went around looking for technology, because I think if it's logical, there should be technology that could do it. And then, yeah, that was my next stumble into demand and supply forecasting. I spent a lot of money building it up because I believed in it. Unfortunately, what I did not know was that you need good data, right? You need patterns to order to make demand and supply forecasting. But with COVID, with stagflation, with the recent economic events like tariffs, with gas prices.
Like, these are all unprecedented.
Yeah. And so the data was messy. There was no proper patterns. And not to mention there was El Nino that started going crazy with crazy weather patterns. Shipping got delayed. Resources got delayed. And then my demand and supply forecasting at that point could not work. Just because they says they could not make any proper guesses. How would people know what work from home meant? It means you need more study tables, right? But it was never a trend.
Yeah.
So that went out the window.
You still have to use some intuition, or
exactly. You just got to read the news and make really good guesses. Like what happens with the Straits of Hormuz? Like this is something that AI probably won't be able to guess for us.
Yeah, hopefully soon enough. It's getting better and better by the day. Yeah,
it is. So I was told that in 2023. AI was a 14-year-old. Today, AI is PhD and beyond. So I'm sure they can in soon to come.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like AI is doing all the technical and analytical work, but the influential and emotional, these are still ours. And I think like there's, as you said, on how you like people, this is the soul of retail, right? Like it's this connection that we have.
Exactly. It's about people.
Yeah.
I always say that with everything artificial, like artificial plants, people will start longing for something authentic. As long as there's something artificial, people want authentic. And I think in all the amazing things that AI can do, the authentic touch, the sincerity, that conversation, that laugh and that smile will never be replaced. And we as entrepreneurs need to remember that we are only here for the customers, to inspire home and family living. And as long as AI can be part of the process, that's where it should be. And there will be a time where it's beyond what AI can do. Then we got to acknowledge that. So I'll give you an example. Recently, mom and dad, I heard a conversation between my mom and dad. They were both looking at a screen, and my mom was like telling my dad, I'm pretty sure this actor is AI. And my dad was like, no, this actor is a human being, legit. And my mom was like, you see the way he walks? I'm quite sure he's AI. And then they were both talking and they could not decide if this person that they saw on screen was AI or not. And the next thing my mom did was come to me and said, can you please do me a favor? Can you get on Facebook or Instagram and tell them to only send me content with real human beings? I am tired of having AI people talking. And I said, Mom, talking babies or having babies, 1-year-old who could like talk in such perfect sentences, that's AI. He says, okay, can you tell them to stop doing that? I said, I don't think I can.
Yeah. But see, like this shows how we don't want to be guessing
There you
what
go.
is real, what is not. We want to make sure that things that we're engaging with is real.
There you go. And I think there will be a premium on all things authentic, in a year or two to come. That's just my guess.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, like your way to deal with innovation. It's you trying to find a solution for your problems, but you go for it, right? Like you have this. Do you have any fear to fail? How do you deal with the possibility of things not going right?
I guess I've always been a very curious kid. So the problem with curiosity is it kills the cat. But you have 9 lives, so you fail fast, you learn fast, and it's probably something I've learned growing up through many little trials and tribulations. But I'm an optimist. I get excited at the prospect of being able to solve a problem as fast as possible and bring value. So perhaps that overshadows the fear of failing.
And when you do fail, when like a project that you invested a lot of money didn't go as you expected, how do you move on?
Like the demand and supply forecast project that took about 2 years, I was selling the whole company on it. I spent good money on it. But when I realized, okay, I can't help that things are no longer business as usual, I tried to take this software to like SMU, which is a local university, and I said, can I save this project? And I'll try. But if I realize I cannot, I'll just say, okay, I told my developer, take it offline. I'm not going to pay for AWS for now. I believe at some point I can still revive this with newer technology. So, I'll just cut it. I've done it a billion times, and I think I'll still keep doing it a billion times. I just need one success for every many failure, to go further.
Yeah. And that's a great mindset. And I think that shows to the rest of your team that failing is okay and you don't have to be drawn into it, like
Exactly.
because something didn't go as expected. So just shake it off and go beyond.
Yeah, and I think as leaders, we need to make sure that we do not put that we could walk the talk. Meaning, if I mean to shake it off, I cannot blame a person for trying and failing and ask them, why did you fail? But I would go, what did you do well? What can we do better? And how do we ring fence the loss or the consequences and move on? So we have to make very smart guesses before we jump into a project. Yeah.
And what are the pain points that you have now that you're considering to look for solutions again? And like, what is the process for you? How do you shop for the solutions? How do you find, who do you talk to?
So when I have a problem, I think I'm very lucky. I really start hunting down anything that's logical, right? For the challenge today is a fewfold. One is analysis paralysis. I mean, we're NRF. There's 2 huge levels worth of solutions. You don't know what to look for. You don't know who to look for. You don't know what you don't know. That's one problem. A second problem I have is that a new solution comes out almost every other month and it gets cheaper, right? I remember when I tried building our first e-commerce, I used a program called Magento. That was a great program, but I realized it's for a more complex, you must be a good coder. I spent a lot of money. And then before I knew it, Shopify came along. It was a lot more easy, fuss-free. There was WordPress, there were so many. And so we jumped on that and it was fast. So I think for me, 2 things is one, things come out so quickly. Even if I jump on it quickly, the people takes time to change their process.
Yeah, exactly, to new systems.
Yeah,
and
creatures are people of habit. We wake up, we brush our teeth, we do the same thing every day. And when we have to change at the speed of technology, we can't adapt fast enough. So I think we have to put all that considerations in place. I'll do it bite-sized. So today, I tell myself, stay focused. What is the problem? How much is this problem? And at how much are you willing to pay for a solution? And number two, how much time, how big? So now I'll ring fence, like keep it small. Let's not be too ambitious. Let's try it on a small test pool. If it works, go bigger, go bigger. If it doesn't, it's okay. It's just a couple people. Let's move on.
Yeah, one term that I've learned at this event that I hadn't heard before was the FOBO, fear of better options.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I think like now that there are options popping every day, like how are you going to sign up for a 2-year deal? If tomorrow another option might come up, like, so we're all waiting. Like, I don't know if I should buy now.
It may be even cheaper, faster, better. Yeah.
Yeah, more integrated, easier to, it's an interesting time in terms of technology. But I think you have the right mentality, right? Like you're not shopping for what is new, you're shopping for the problems you need to solve. And I think that's a good way. So for a lot of us don't know much about the market in Singapore. How would you describe the Singaporean market, especially for your area, for furniture?
Singapore is known to be a huge melting pot. You know, you already mentioned this just now, that you've interviewed so many people, and I'm the first Singaporean.
Yeah.
Being a huge city of a melting pot, we have very diverse taste, but it makes it very fun. Some of the things that I love about Singapore is how accessible we are. We are small, we are vibrant, and we have people from all over the world with all kinds of thought processes. But that makes it challenging because of the diversity of it. Let me give you an example. I have stores in Taiwan, and when I hire, let's say for sales, a retail person, I don't have to go, I need to make sure you speak Mandarin, because they all speak Mandarin. But in Singapore, we must make sure they can speak English. They might be able to speak Mandarin. Some might need to speak Malay, so it's a very diverse culture. So one thing is the talent needs to be very multifaceted with their languages. Another challenge that retailers in Singapore face is the cost of rental. Rents are high, land is scarce, so you got to be very productive in all you do. And I think that's where AI comes about. So you have to be spot on the right things to buy. You need to know who your customers are. It's a small enough market, plus it's so diverse. So if I'm in Taiwan, it's relatively homogenous compared to Singapore, right? They mostly speak Chinese, mostly are Chinese, and so you just target that kind of group. But in Singapore, let's say if you're a restaurant, the Malays eat halal, so no pork. The Indians, mostly vegetarian. Mostly, I'm talking about in general, right? The Chinese probably eat a ton of everything, more Chinese. And so because there's all these things, you gotta know, you can't serve everything on your menu.
Yeah, and I think there's also, I know Singapore because many of my friends lived here for a year or two, and then, for business. I think it's also a very destination for expats.
Yes, it is.
They use here as a hub for Asia. And I think for the furniture business, it must be interesting because a lot of people might come just for 2 years and then they have to shop at the whole house. And then another family comes by. So it must be interesting also to engage with the expat community that comes from all over the world. Yeah.
It is. We have a store at this place called Tan Boon Liet. If you've never been, it's a very eclectic collection of many different furniture pieced together. And I would say that it is probably a destination for quite a bit of expats. They go there. So it's vibrant. It's fun. There are also business models where they do furniture rental to cater for this very type of market. But so in my space, what we always think about is space. Unlike the US, where perhaps if you live in the suburbs, not in Manhattan, of course.
But we have no space.
Yeah, Manhattan is like Singapore. But if you go a little bit out, maybe in Jersey, a little bit outskirts, you get space. You can buy bigger furniture. So in Singapore, it's always about smaller space saving, one multifunctional furniture. So yeah, that's an area that we've always been venturing into.
That's super interesting. And how do you see the future for Scanteak?
I think for us, we aspire to be a house of brands. We would like to own many brands. We still want to furnish homes beyond our shores. We are now looking into Southeast Asia as well. It's very diverse, very vibrant. We're definitely looking beyond Singapore. We want to
Yeah,
hit.
at the event, a lot of people were saying how Southeast Asia is booming and they should invest there. So I can see the appealing. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think we will probably stick to cosmopolitan states because that's what we're good at. And yeah, continue sourcing for all kinds of brands that could fit all kinds of homes and families.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Jamie. It was so insightful to finally talk to a Singaporean brand. And thanks for sharing your thoughts. And one last thing, what would be your advice for anybody running a business and facing the conflicts of innovation?
Drive value. Remember your customers. I liken this to having a lot of things in this world, but if I were to buy a gift, let's say for Valentine's Day for my husband, I need to figure out what he likes. No matter how innovative anything is, maybe he just wants a nice scotch. It's nothing to do with technology, but I can buy online, which is using technology to buy him his favorite scotch. So always remember the value of why your customers pick you and use any innovation as an enabler and not the means to an end.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. I hope to see you next year when I'm back, and I will be following your success.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.